Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany. Apologies for the late start, but I'm here now. So let's get into it. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Today I'm going to be talking about Teen Wolf, the movie. And no, it's not Teen Wolf, the movie from the 1980s. This is a new movie that just recently came out last month. If you guys remember, I had mentioned it previously in an episode that, a Teen Wolf movie was coming out and that I wanted to see it, but I was a little peeved because they were like, it's only streaming on Paramount Plus. And I was like, okay, so that means you have to get a subscription to Paramount Plus because I already have a subscription to Hulu and Netflix. So I'm kind of just like, okay, all these streaming services is getting to be a little bit too much. But what did I do? I broke down and I got a subscription to Paramount Plus because I wanted to see the movie. Now, I will say I'm on a free trial thing. I don't know if the promotion is still going on, but they had something where, like, if you used a code, then you get Paramount Plus free for like 1 month. So that's what I'm using. And I was able to watch the movie. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm hoping that while I have this free trial with Paramount Plus, that I'll be able to watch maybe a few other things if I have the time to watch it, and then give you guys some reviews on it. So a couple other things that I wanted to get into was Criminal Minds, the new season that's on Paramount Plus. And no, I'm not. This is not sponsored by Paramount Plus or anything like that. But I watched the first episode because they showed it on cable, and then of course the rest of the season is on there. So I want to get into it, but it's like I don't know if I'll be able to watch the whole season before the free trial is up, because I think I'm already like a week or two into it. But and then the other thing too was I wanted to watch Scream 5 because Scream 6 is coming out next month and I'm excited to see that. I'm definitely going to go see that in theaters and I'll be giving you guys a movie review on that. But I feel like I need to see Scream 5 before I see 6 so I kind of understand what's going on. So I'm hoping to kind of get some of that stuff in before I don't have Paramount Plus anymore. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. I just wanted to kind of let you guys know and maybe a few things that I might be talking about in future episodes. Um, but yeah, let's get into Teen Wolf the movie. So, for those of you who don't know, there was a show on MTV that started in 2011 called Teen Wolf, and it ran for about 6 seasons. It was created by Jeff Davis, and I believe he was also the head writer for the show as well. And it was about a kid named Scott McCall, high school kid, who got bit by a werewolf, and so he turns into one. And then it just takes you through this journey between him and his friends, and they all end up kind of having like supernatural power. So it's definitely like a fantasy supernatural type show. I don't really know if it's reminiscent to like the Teen Wolf from the 80s because I've never seen it. Don't be mad at me. But maybe that's kind of where the idea sparked from. I'm not too sure, but it's probably, I would say it's probably much different than that if you've never seen it. But anyway, it was this popular show that was on MTV, and this was around the time that there was a lot of like teen shows on, like Vampire Diaries was still popular, Pretty Little Liars, and like so many others, Supernatural. Although I think that show might still be going on, but Teen Wolf was like one of those shows that I was really into in high school. Um, and like I said, it ran for quite a while, so I was watching it like even once I graduated and everything, and I watched it from beginning to end, and I really enjoyed it. And so seeing these characters brought back and seeing them like on, I was gonna say on the big screen, but on a movie screen basically, was like really cool, and it is definitely nostalgic to see them back again because the show, ended years ago, and I did never think that we would see anything about Teen Wolf again. So. Um, I think first and foremost, watching this was like, oh, this is nostalgic. Like seeing them again, but seeing them like older, like you could tell everybody's older. Some of the characters look pretty much the same, but you could tell like some people have definitely aged and stuff. So it's just kind of crazy to see everybody kind of like back again. Although there are a few people that are missing from the main cast. One of them, obviously, being Styles. He's not in the movie, if you guys didn't know. So I'm not too sure what the actual reason for Dylan O'Brien not being in it, if he just didn't really want to be a part of it, or if it was like a scheduling thing. Sometimes actors have conflicting schedules, and if they're shooting other things and they can't be a part of like, a certain project. So I'm not too sure what if he ever came out publicly and said why he wasn't going to be a part of it, but he's not in it, unfortunately. And Kira's not in it, although there is a girl in this movie that reminds me of her. A couple other people, Theo's not in it, and I feel like like I said, there might be a few other people. I haven't seen you guys. I haven't seen Teen Wolf like the show in so long. It's been years since I watched it, so I don't even really remember everything. But it was a really good show. Like I just remember always enjoying it every episode and kind of it like being on the edge of my seat basically. So yeah, so there's a few people missing, but for the most part, like a lot of the main cast was brought back, which was nice to see. And then you kind of had to sprinkle in a few new characters as well. Um, but yeah, I feel like I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I think it comes from like a place of nostalgic, feelings because I used to watch the show when I was in high school. So, obviously if you haven't seen the TV show, I don't know if you would really enjoy this movie or if you would even understand it because a lot of the movie is referencing season 3, I would say. Um like I said, it ran for 6 seasons, so a lot of stuff happened. But I think season 3, for the most part, was like probably the most prominent season of the show. I think it's one of the most memorable ones, like ones that people go back and they're like, "Oh, season 3 was like crazy," because it was just stuff happening like back to back to back. Big takeaway from season 3 was obviously that Allison died at I think it was the second half of season 3 if I don't remember because they split it up in 2 parts, so it was like 3A and then 3B. So I think she died like towards the end of 3B. I don't remember the exact episode because again, it's been years. But, her dying was like a big thing and then Void Styles, which was pretty much Styles being evil, but it wasn't really Styles. You know, it was a whole thing. It was just really crazy that whole season. And it was like I actually remember watching some episodes and actually being kind of creeped out for real. So it was good. So I was glad that they referenced specifically that season because that season was so. I would probably say that was like my favorite season. And I think it was a favorite for a lot of the fans. So I thought that was kind of cool that they went back and did that. I'm trying to not give any spoilers out, at least for maybe like the first 10 minutes that I'm talking about it for anybody that hasn't seen it, that's a fan of the show or has been wanting to see the movie. But in a little bit, I will get into spoilers. So I'm just kind of letting you guys know. So, if you want to kind of come back to this episode later after you've seen the movie, you could do that. All of my podcast episodes are always on my YouTube channel. They're on Facebook, of course. This is where I go live every week. And then I upload on Spotify and Anchor. So if you're more of an audio listener, you could do that as well. But yeah, you can always go back and rewatch old episodes or anything like that. So it's not really a biggie if you don't want to be spoiled. Um, so yeah, but like I said, overall, I feel like I liked it because I really enjoy the show. Um, and I feel like the movie still had the essence of the TV show. Like it didn't feel completely weird or different to me. I would say the only thing was because obviously like this is on a streaming service and it's not being played on MTV is because they were able to kind of get away with like me, like kind of a little bit of cursing there, which is what they didn't really do much of that when it was on cable. And then the other thing was too like a little bit of nudity, but it wasn't anything too crazy. I honestly kind of felt like the scenes where they did show nudity was kind of like to me it was kind of just like that wasn't really necessary, but I guess they wanted to do it because they could get away with it, I guess. I don't know. Um but yeah, other than that, it still felt like Teen Wolf to me. And like I said, pretty much the majority of the main cast came back, so that was nice. So if you enjoy the show, I feel like you'll enjoy the movie. And if anything, even if you don't like the movie, it's just nice to see the characters come back. Obviously, the big one being Allison. Like I said, she died in season 3, so seeing her come back to this uh I don't want to call it a franchise, but just coming back to this story, just seeing her again because Allison was like, she was one of the main characters and her and Scott had a really beautiful relationship and so seeing them come back together again was really nice. And just knowing that she's not dead anymore was nice because I just remember like when she died, it was just like, are you kidding me? Like you killed off Allison? Like she was one of the main characters. And usually TV shows, that they don't do that. So yeah, I would say that was kind of the biggie as far as like trying to not spoil the movie. But um, yeah, and like I said, the only thing I would say maybe is like, hopefully this isn't too much of a spoiler, but I will say that they definitely did reference Styles in the movie a few times. So I'm glad that they didn't make it a whole thing of like we don't know who that is and we're not going to mention him because he's not in the movie. Because I feel like sometimes people do that. Like if a character's not in something, then it's like they won't mention it, and that doesn't really make sense because he was a big part of the story, and he still is really. But even though the actor wasn't there, they still mentioned him a few times. You know, his dad was in the movie, and then the Jeep played like a significant part in the movie as well. It has this emotional tie to one of the characters in the movie. I won't say who it is yet, because that I guess that's kind of a spoiler. Um, but yeah, so I'm glad they did that. And I'm glad they didn't like I said, try to erase his character or things that happened in the past. But the only thing that I was kind of like scratching my head about was they were pretty vague as to why he wasn't there. Um, I believe his dad said something about, he kind of mentioned him, but he was kind of basically just saying like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to bother him because he has his own fires to put out right now," as if like, he's just got so much going on, so I'm not going to call him for help. But it was just like, if you watch the show and if you remember anything about Styles, like he was super loyal and he was always there for his friends, especially Scott. So I feel like realistically, if this, all the stuff that was going on at the time in the movie, if like they had called on him, he would have came no matter what was going on. So I just kind of felt like that was a little lazy to just be like, oh, well, he's got other stuff going on. Cause it's like they all had other stuff going on. Like they all weren't still in Beacon Hills anymore. They had moved on to different cities. They were, they're grown now. Like they're not in high school. They're out of college. They're all working and doing their own thing. And they pretty much all came back together to like fight this evil and to be a pack again. So it's just kind of like the idea that like, oh, he has other stuff going on. That's why he's not there is a little unrealistic to me. But again, they had to come up with something as to why, a reason as to why Styles was missing in action. But anyway, other than that, like I said, it was nice to see everybody back together. So again, if you enjoyed the TV show or if you really love the characters, then you'll probably like the movie. I saw some mixed reviews about it, and I'll get into why just in a minute because I'm gonna kind of transition over into spoilers. But I saw some people talking about the relationship between Lydia and Styles, and then I would say, I guess, the relationship between Scott and Allison as well, and then just some other things that happened in the movie, and I won't say it yet. But before I switch over into spoilers, I did want to remind you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Streann Media, and I'm using the Stream Studio to go live with you guys every week. So if you've never heard of it and you want to check it out yourself, you can go to studio.streann.com, and all you need is an email, and then they will give you a login code and you can go and do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a podcast, but if you want to get into live streaming or if you're kind of like a content creator or anything like that, you can use their platform for free. Now they do have different I believe, plans if you want to pay for extra features, but you can also use it for free as well. So yeah, get into it. And let me get my notebook really quickly, just so I have my notes here, just so I'm not skipping out on anything. So now this is the part where I'm going to be getting to spoilers. So if you guys don't want to hear it, click out of the video. Don't say I didn't warn you. So yeah, let's start off with you know what? Forget it. Let's just start off with Styles and Lydia because that's what we really want to talk about. That's what we really want to talk about. So in the show, if you guys remember, obviously that was a big thing because it pretty much took like the whole entire series before Styles and Lydia actually became a couple. From the very beginning, Styles liked Lydia, but Lydia was with Jackson, and Jackson is in the movie as well. But Jackson is gay now, so he's not even like he's not even an option. He's not a threat or anything like that. But yeah, like Styles always really liked Lydia, and Lydia was kind of like the popular girl, didn't really pay attention to Styles, and it wasn't really until like Scott became a werewolf and all these supernatural things started happening, and she got involved because she's a banshee and everything. Or she discovered that at some point. Like I said, they pretty much all have something supernatural with them except for Styles. But yeah, they all pretty much became like Scott's pack, and like they all became this big friend group. Um, And so like seeing them become really good friends first was sweet, and then obviously like it started to be a little bit more, and then it just seemed like it was taking forever because Lydia, even after Jackson, she, I think she dated, oh God, this was so long ago, I think she dated one of the twins. I feel like there was, I don't remember their names, but one of them died in the show. But I think there was one that liked her, and I'm trying to remember if they dated or not. But I know it was something with her, and then they tried to make a thing between like her and Parrish, which was like weird. I'm like, I don't know why they did that, but it just seemed like they kept pushing Lydia with other people besides Styles, right? So it was this whole build up throughout the entire series of them, and then finally in the last, I want to say maybe like the last episode of the series, they reunited, and she kissed him and told him. That she loved him because he had been, missing. It was like this whole thing, and he told Lydia that he loved her first. So that was pretty obvious to the audience if he'd been watching the show that he was crazy about her. But yeah, so they finally got together, right? So the show ends with them like packing up, and they graduate high school, they're gonna be moving on, going to college and all this stuff. And I think if I remember correctly, I think they said Styles was going into like the police academy or something similar to that. I think he was kind of going to follow in his dad's footsteps or whatever. So that's kind of like the last we heard of his character. So I'm not sure what happened there, if he ever graduated or what he ended up doing. They didn't really say in the movie. But what they did say was, or what Lydia said was, in the beginning, she was kind of hinting at like her not being with Styles anymore. And then eventually in one scene, she said, she finally admitted that she left him. And the reason why she left him was because she kept having this reoccurring nightmare that they got in this car crash and that he died. And so I guess to her, it was kind of like, it was more than a dream. Like it was a premonition. Maybe she felt like it was a warning that this was going to happen as long as she stayed with him. And so I guess to her, like her logic was like, if I'm not there with him and if I'm not with him, then this won't happen and he won't die. Which, on one half I kind of understand that, because this is a supernatural show, so like anything could happen, something crazy like that could happen. And I understand why she would be scared, because she's lost Allison before, they've lost other friends before. But at the same time, it's kind of like, really, like, wouldn't you want to stick by his side in case something bad does happen? Because what if something did happen, then you're not there and he dies? It's like, what if you being there would have saved him, type of thing. So I don't know. I again kind of felt like that was a little bit of a weak reason why she left him, because like I said, it took the whole I was gonna say the whole season, the whole series, for them to get together, and it was such a build up. And before that, like I said, it became like best friends. They were really good friends. So for you to like leave him over that was kind of like, I don't know if that was the best reason. And I think I saw some people were upset about that, because they were just like, it took forever for them to get together, only for you guys to crush that in one scene, and her to be like, well, I left him because I kept having this bad dream and it made me feel, scared, so I left. So I'm wondering if like that was like, I guess that was just the best reason that they could come up with, or if it's something more there, and we'll find out more about it later. I have no idea. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of just like, okay, like kind of get it, but I'm kind of just like, I don't know if I really buy into it. But but yeah, I understand too that they had to give a little bit more of a reason as to why Styles wasn't there. Um, and yeah, so I understand why people were kind of upset about that. But I guess in my head, I'm delusional. In my head, I'm like, they'll fix it, they'll work it out, they'll get back together, whatever. It's not a big deal. But yeah, there's that. And then like I said, Kira was not in the movie, and Theo, and I feel like there's a couple other people I'm missing here, but that's the two that I'm think. Oh, and Isaac wasn't in there. But although to be honest, I don't really. Did one of them die? Honestly, I don't even remember. But I feel like it probably would have been irrelevant having them. I would have liked to see Kira though. I liked Kira's character, but I understand that like if she was there, like I don't know, that probably would have been a little bit weird since Allison and Scott reunite and then they, end up back together. If Kira had been there, I don't know how she would have felt about that. So maybe that was part of the reason why she wasn't really mentioned. I don't know. And again, I don't know why the actress wasn't a part of it, but yeah, she wasn't in there. But like I said, I was glad to see Scott, and first of all, I was just glad to see Allison back as an individual character, because like I said, we were all I think everybody that watched the show was really heartbroken when she died, and it was just like, are you serious? Like, you really killed off my girl like that, really? And then she died in Scott's arm, and it was just this whole dramatic thing, and like her absence was felt throughout the rest of the series. I felt like even though they brought in new characters quite a bit, it was still just like, dang, like they were like the originals, like her and Scott and Lydia and Styles, they were like the original, like kind of like pack or best friends. And then when she was gone, it just, it just felt like something was missing. So I was really glad to see her back. And then, like I said, of course, love to see her reuniting with Scott. That was like a really cute relationship that they had when they were in high school. And they were only like 16, I think, when they first got together. So it's been a really long. And then they even said in the movie, I was like, oh my god! They said when they were talking about her like death and everything, they were like, well, it's been 15 years, and I was like, 15 years since Allison died. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's true in real life, but I guess in the movie and like in their world, it's been 15 years, which is crazy to even think about that it's been that long. Um, and so it was kind of weird a little bit that, pretty much the way it was explained in the movie was that Allison, while she did really die, she's kind of, I guess, like her soul or her spirit has kind of been stuck in this in between land. So not quite crossing over yet. And just being stuck. And so, and I guess she was kind of calling out for help, and like her dad and Scott were the two, well, Lydia was too, but they were the ones kind of getting the signal because they were the closest to her. So that's kind of how they ended up coming together and being like, well, are you hearing this? And are you dreaming about this and seeing the same things that I'm seeing too? Like something's going on, and it has something to do with Allison. And so that's how they were able to bring her back to life, basically. But yeah, that's kind of sad to think about that she's just been stuck this whole time, like, and they didn't know it. I guess I don't know, but either way, I was glad they brought her back. I know some people again have like reserved or mixed feelings about it because a lot of times in supernatural or like fantasy shows, they tend to kill people and then they bring them back, and then it starts to just feel like, well, what's the point of killing somebody if you're just going to bring them back, right? It doesn't, like, it's almost like it doesn't really matter anymore. There's really no feeling to it because you're just like, okay, this is like the boy who cried wolf. Like we're all crying thinking that this is the end, and then they bring the character back, and it kind of like diminishes the value, if that makes sense. So I understand why maybe some people are kind of like, well, maybe they should have just left her dead because her death was really impactful and it was really sad, and it really changed things. And then for you to just bring her back all this time later, maybe it seems a little, I don't know, maybe it seems a little off to people, but this is one of those deaths where I'm actually kind of like, oh no, I'm glad they brought her back, to be honest. And this is different because it's for a movie. It's not like the series. Now I don't know if they're going to do another movie. I have no idea. You guys can let me know in the comments if you've heard anything about a Teen Wolf 2 or them trying to bring back the series or something like that, because to me the way it ended, it almost seemed like there could be a continuation, and I still feel like there's probably a few questions that weren't answered in the movie. And the movie was like over 2 hours, so it's not a short movie. But it ended with, so Derek has a son, right? Eli. And he's pretty much like one of the big like new characters, and I kind of feel like they were using his character, I don't know if this is like weird to say, but I kind of feel like they were using his character almost as like a replacement for Styles, because in the show, Styles was kind of always like the goofy one, and he would, he was really smart and good at figuring things out, but he would kind of be the one to bring some levity to situations, and I feel like that's what they were trying to do with Eli a little bit. um but yeah, anyway, so he's Derek's son. I don't know who his mom is. Let me know if I'm missing something. I'm trying to remember if that was ever mentioned in the show or if they even had said who his mom was, but I guess she's not around or she's passed or something because it was just him and Derek. Um, but now he has this emotional tie to Styles' Jeep, and he's kind of like, the one driving it around now and everything like that. And so, but anyway, so Derek, what ends up happening is Derek sacrifices himself. And so again, is he really dead or are they going to bring him back? I don't know. They kind of made it seem like it was a final thing. They had like a whole funeral for him and everything. But the last scene of the movie was was Eli on top of like this huge like rock, and he's looking in the camera and his eyes are glowing. And the reason why they were showing that was because throughout the movie he had a hard time with like shape shifting and kind of just settling into being a wolf. And it kind of stemmed back from his childhood, like him being afraid of his dad and everything like that. And and that was kind of bothering him because he's just like, well, my dad is this like alpha, and I can't heal myself, I can't change, like I can't do this or that and things that I'm supposed to do. And so um the last words that Derek had said to him before he sacrificed himself was like kind of like, remember who you are and stuff, like remember that you're a Hale and that you're strong and all that kind of stuff was implied. And so I don't know, just like the way it ended, it kind of seemed like they could continue the whole story, maybe not with Scott and Lydia and everything, but maybe with Eli. I feel like it could be a continuation with him to see how he navigates being a wolf without his dad. And I guess, yeah, I feel like he would be under Scott's pack now since Derek isn't around. So I don't know. I feel like they could do something with that. Again, I don't know if it would work that well without like if the main cast isn't really involved. If they just do all new characters, I feel like it might be kind of you know. But yeah, the way it ended off, it seemed like there could be a continuation there. So I'm curious to know if they're going to try to do another movie or like another, like a continuation of the series or like a mini series or something. I don't know. We'll find out and see, I guess. Um, but overall, his character was cool. Like he was only like 15 though. So he was like definitely the baby in the movie. And, the one thing I will say though, like throughout the movie, I noticed he kept falling and everything. Now I get he's young and he hasn't been involved in all this stuff the way the rest of them have, so this was all kind of like new to him. But there was parts where he kept falling, and I was like, dude, you gotta get up. Like, do not be one of those characters like in scary movies where they just keep falling when they're running away from the killer, and it's like it starts to get kind of annoying. It's like, come on, get up and run, and if you can't defend yourself, then at least run. I was just like, come on, you guys. I don't know why they kept having this boy look like that, but yeah. So his character was a cool addition. And then like I said, there was, God, I forgot her name. The girl that kind of reminded me of Kira. I believe she's a kitsune. I could be wrong, or she's something similar to that. So again, I feel like they kind of had her in there to, I guess I don't want to say replace Kira, but kind of like to replace Kira a little bit. And then because the movie started off with Liam and this girl. I don't know if her name was Hakira. I could be wrong, but it looked like they were in Japan, so I'm not sure what he's doing there. But I guess he lives there now. I don't know, and I'm not sure if that girl was like his girlfriend or if she was just a good friend or whatever, or if they just worked together. But clearly they're both involved in the supernatural world. So um, it started off with this mystery guy stealing this jar, and that was kind of what set off the chains of events in the movie. So that's how the Nogitsune was able to come back. That's how the Oni was able to come back. And then we find out at the end that it's Mr. Harris, one of the high school teachers, which was like, what are you doing, sir? And I guess apparently he died. I don't even remember him getting killed. Like, honestly, like I said, so much stuff happened in the show. I don't remember. But I guess he was vengeful because it was something with Scott and them, I guess, that got him killed. And so now he's kind of like coming back and trying to get his revenge. And it seemed like he was trying to recreate the murders that killed Derek's family, like all the fires and stuff. But I think the Nogitsune was just using him, to be honest. And I guess Mr. Harris thought that he was like in control or something, but it's like, no, you're not. Like, I don't even think he really understood like what forces he was messing with and what he was using, to be honest. But anyway, he ended up kind of being like the villain in it, as far as like the human villain, I guess. And then, like I said, the new Kitsune and the Oni came back, and they were a big part of season 3. So that's why I said you probably have to watch the series, or at least season 3, to kind of understand what's going on in the movie. Otherwise it could be really hard to follow, because there's even some stuff that I forgot that happened, and I was like, oh shoot. But yeah, it was pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. Of course, there's little things here and there that I can nitpick at, and I kind of already did a little bit, but overall, like, I liked it. I don't think it's a movie that honestly go back and rewatch over and over again. I think it's like a good one-time watch. Um, But again, it does kind of leave me a little bit wanting to see some more. Like part of me is like, yeah, I kind of want to see a continuation because I think there was things that were kind of left unanswered, but maybe they did that on purpose. I don't know. And I do kind of, now that they've brought Allison back and clearly her and Scott are going to be together, I do kind of want to see like them being like married or her, him having I was gonna say him having kids, her having kids, or her having their kids, and just what that would look like, and maybe if they took Eli under their wing, that kind of thing. But the other part of me is too is maybe like they should just leave it alone and leave it as it is, because I always talk about how sometimes franchises do a little bit too much and they keep things going and going and going to the point where it's like it's unnecessary and you're just kind of making stuff just to make it or just to make money. And I don't want Teen Wolf to be like that. So I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends on what direction they go in. If they come out with anything else, I wouldn't mind seeing another movie, but I would, like I said, if it's the original cast again, that I wouldn't mind seeing it. If it's like all new characters, then I don't, and it's just following Eli. I don't really know if I'll be too interested in it, to be honest. So I don't know what they're gonna do. So we'll see. Um, we'll see if they continue it or not, or if Jeff Davis comes up with something similar to that. Now I know that like when they were promoting the Teen Wolf movie on the commercials and stuff, they kept talking about this show called, I think it's called Wolf Pack. So I don't know if that's connected to Teen Wolf or if they were just promoting those two together because they're both about wolves. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is in this series, and it's on Paramount Plus too. So if you guys would like me to tune into it to watch it and then kind of like we could have discussions about it, let me know. Or if any of you guys have watched it and you think it's good, let me know. um Obviously she's not a stranger to fantasy supernatural TV shows. She was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the longest time. Now I've never watched that show. I've always kind of wanted to watch it because I heard it was good, but I did watch the sequel to the show, Angel, and that show like has my heart for real. Like I've only seen the series once, and this was years ago, but I was super into it, like super into it. So I'm just like, well, you know what, if I like Angel, I'll probably like Buffy too. So I need to go back and like rewatch the show to kind of know what led up to Angel. Anyway, um, so yeah, I don't know. It looks like it could be interesting, but like I said, I don't know if it has anything to do with Teen Wolf or if it's just like about wolves and they were just kind of promoting the two together. I'm not sure. But I kind of wish they would just show it on MTV instead of having it on Paramount Plus. But everything has to be on streaming services now. So I guess if you want to watch it, or if I want to watch it, then I'm gonna have to try to keep this subscription or try to watch it before that free trial ends. But yeah, I don't even know if I'll get around to it, and I don't know how many episodes there are or anything like that. But like I said, if you guys have heard about the show and you know that it's good or interesting, let me know and I'll get into it, and then we'll have a little TV series that we can talk about every week. If not, I plan on doing a movie review for Scream 5, and I want to try to do it before Scream 6 comes out. Um, and like I said, maybe getting back into Criminal Minds a bit because I do kind of want to see what happens after that first episode. And if you missed the episode where I talked about the premiere of season 16, you could go back on my YouTube channel or my Facebook. It's on my profile. All my old episodes. You can go back and rewatch it if you haven't seen that yet. And yeah, that's kind of what I plan on doing. I guess moving forward. So there you have it. But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna wrap it up there. That was the Teen Wolf movie. Overall, like I said, I liked it, but if you are not familiar with the show and you haven't seen the show, then you might not really care for it, or you're probably just not gonna know what's going on. So I feel like for people that are aware of the show and they know the characters, then you'll probably enjoy it. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I liked it because it was nostalgic more than anything. But yeah, it kept me entertained for the 2 hours that the movie was going. It was like 2 hours, and it was like over 2 hours. I think it might have been like 2.5 hours. I don't know, but it was actually like a longer movie than what I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I liked it, like I said, and now I'm just repeating myself. But anyway, I am going to wrap up this movie review. I appreciate you guys watching. And let me know like what you think about the movie, or if you plan on watching it. Leave your comments down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter or anything like that. But it's probably easier if you just leave comments down below. If you're watching this on YouTube or on my Facebook page, then you can leave a comment down below. And I always leave my socials in the comments, so that way you guys can see and follow me and everything like that. It's best to follow my Facebook page to keep up with any updates, or when I put out new episodes, when I go live. That will all be on my Facebook page first. So definitely follow me on there. And then of course you can subscribe to my YouTube, and you can also subscribe or follow me on Spotify or Anchor or anything like that. And I do have like, Instagram pages and TikTok pages and Twitter pages for my podcast, but those haven't really been, I mean, they're pretty bare right now, to be honest. I'm still trying to just work on like Facebook and YouTube. So you can follow me there, but there's not as much content on there yet. So stay tuned for that. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. Oh, you know what? The last thing I did want to say, I don't want to say he's a minor character, but I guess I did want to mention it was cool to see Deaton back in the movie, because I know he played a pretty good part in the show, at least for Scott. He was kind of like almost like a father figure a little bit, because if you remember in the show, Scott, it was just Scott and his mom. His dad was around a little bit, but he wasn't really like there. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like Deaton was kind of like maybe Derek was too a little bit, but I kind of feel like Deaton was as well, because he in the movie, Scott is running an animal shelter, and it's right next to Deaton's clinic. So I feel like, like him being around Deaton and everything, that definitely got him down, that got him into that career. And that's how it led him down that pathway, if that makes sense. So it was nice to see him again in the movie, and to see that he still kept that friendship, and that connection with Scott and everything, and that he's still like kind of like a part of the pack and helping them out and everything like that. So I did kind of wanted to say that, like, it was cool to see him back in it. But yeah, anyway, like I said, I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next weekend. And I hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Super Bowl is this weekend, and then next week is like Valentine's Day. So there's some stuff coming up. And you guys can let me know too if maybe like next weekend you would want me to maybe discuss a romance movie, or like a romance TV show, something along those lines, maybe to kind of like, I don't know, celebrate Valentine's Day if you guys do celebrate. But if not, then I'm going to do my own thing. So if you have recommendations, please let me know. I'm open to doing reviews and discussions about pretty much anything. You guys just kind of have to let me know what you're interested in, and I'll take a look into it. But anyway, like I said, third time saying goodbye. Hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.